Dr. Uhanova is unable to be here today, and I'm going to speak about what a medical doctor who's an expert in hepatology might say. Remember, I'm a biostatistician. So Dr. Uhanova is a physician from Russia who came here to do her MSc program in community health sciences. She worked with Dr. Leslie Roos and Dr. Hugh Young on her MSc, and then began a PhD program in our department studying hepatitis C using Manitoba health data. Dr. Jamie Blanchard was on our committee, Dr. Lawrence Alley and myself, and Jerry Minogue from the Department of Internal Medicine. And in working with Julia, she expressed a lot of interest in liver disease. And I've told her that with the Manitoba follow-up study that we've got lots of data that's coded, but the detail of our coding is in cardiovascular systems. So we do have clinical codes in our data files that say liver disease or say colon cancer or so on. We have reports from physicians from hospitals that give much more detail, but it's not already available in our electronic files. And so she said specifically she's interested in cirrhosis and hepatitis, and became more and more interested in metabolic syndrome. And so, metabolic syndrome is not a disease with a specific diagnosis date per se, but it's a combination of things related to insulin resistance and obesity and dyslipidemia and hypertension and some others, depending on which definitions you're using. She's interested specifically in non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which I've learned is called a NAFLD, so that's a new word for me. And there's a lot of, or some evidence that links NAFLD to metabolic syndrome. And so there's an opportunity in the Manitoba follow-up study to kind of go back into some of our charts, essentially do a chart review and go back and look at some more of the details for both of these components. She's put together an initial proposal to the Manitoba Medical Services Foundation, and she'll know in December whether or not it's funded. But this is some indication of the data that we know we already have. The prevalence line for hepatitis is the higher one. So there's study members back during the war years that were diagnosed with hepatitis. The prevalence of cirrhosis comes later in life. And between the two groups, there's about 277 men in our cohort who have one or the other or both diagnoses. We also know there's close to 700 that have a record noting impaired glucose tolerance, and 13% at some time in their life had a code for diabetes. And she wanted to go and do a chart review and look at these. So she took out 25 charts, looked at them, and there's very rich data for 22 out of the 25, and that gives her supporting evidence to go forward and look at it in more detail. We've got a research fellow in hepatology who's working with us for 4 months after Christmas to begin working on this chart review with Julia, and if funding becomes available, that'll work out very well for us too. So in a nutshell, that's what Julia is doing.